Narcissists will try to manipulate you at whatever the cost. Narcissists try to manipulate you no matter what it means to them or to you or how it affects you. It doesn't really care like how it's going to affect you at all. Narcissists will do whatever it takes to get the reality that they want, even if that means hurting and abusing you. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to help people understand narcissistic abuse, to break down different aspects, different pieces of my life so that you can actually understand narcissistic abuse, gain some type of closure, and start to move forward in your healing. I break people out of trauma bonds, rumination, intrusive thoughts, the limiting feelings and beliefs and lies that have been told to you and that you start to believe over a period of time that keep you trapped in a toxic relationship and a toxic mindset that doesn't actually let you heal, move forward, and grow and develop yourself. And so today I want to be able to just to talk and kind of freestyle, I guess you could say, just some about my life and some about the different things that have happened. But from the frame of narcissists will do anything and everything to be able to convince you and to be able to manipulate you and to be able to gaslight you into believing their version of reality. One thing that I would say started off like early on, this is back working even early on in a relationship, was me doing this to other people. And that was typically lying or saying whatever I need to say to avoid accountability. Now, back in the day, I worked at Chick-fil-A, and I was one day working in like the fry station, and someone ordered like this no salt fry. The person on the other side was like pissed off because they had to get this person another fry. They were frustrated, all this kind of stuff, and it was not someone I liked working with. And without thinking about it, I brought up the new batch of fries, dumped them, salted them. And then realized, oh, like this person wanted a no salt fry. I scraped like the top fries off before I mixed it up and then grabbed the fries and, made a no salt fry or what was close to it. And I remember like she almost caught me, but she caught like the idea of like, didn't you just salt those? And I was like, no, I didn't. And it was really quick and really easy for me just to lie in that moment because it meant I avoided her emotions. I avoided her getting upset at me. I avoided accountability. I avoided any piece that was like, oh yeah, I messed up. I did bad. I'm not that great. I'm not that amazing. And I just did that. Like, let me just avoid it in the moment as quick as I can. Majority of narcissists are not thinking long term. Like I could never think like, what is my 5-year plan or what is my plan in a month from now? Couldn't think of those things. I wasn't focused on those things. I was just focused on the here, now, and in the moment, and oftentimes avoiding accountability and things that would happen in the moment. When you talk about narcissistic abuse, it gets really dark in the manipulation. It gets really dark in what the person does to be able to convince you that you're crazy. Now, oftentimes we talk about this form of like gaslighting, but like gaslighting to the place where you start to believe an alternate sense of reality. So for instance, like I would gaslight my wife into believing that I wasn't cheating on her, even though she knew from her gut something's wrong, something's off. How he's talking to this person doesn't seem normal. How he's interacting in this way doesn't seem to be the best way. She had all these feelings, these ideas, these thoughts, but nothing she could ever prove. And when she would bring stuff up, then that's when I would gaslight and manipulate and be like, you're crazy. Like you're overreacting. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like really, why would I do this? All these different things to be able to put her down so that she wouldn't actually see the current reality that what she was accusing me of was 100% true. Now with the narcissist, it continues to go to whatever extreme lengths it needs to be able to justify what's actually happening. So there was times that like people would accuse me of stuff that my wife would defend me because I'd already done the work on the backside to like make her believe a certain reality. Like I'm breaking this down to try to show you just like the depth of like how bad it gets. And I'm not even touching the surface of like of all the hundreds and hundreds and thousands of stories that I've talked to survivors and heard, like some of them that get really, really awful. But at the end of the day, like this whole psychological abuse piece of trying to convince another person of a reality that's not true. Narcissist doesn't care. Like they just continue moving forward because they're not focused on the future, how that's going to affect somebody, and they're not focused on the other person of like the empathy piece or how this is affecting them. They're just focusing on themselves. So for me, I'm like, let me get what I want. Let me connect with another person. Let me get involved with another person. Let me have a relationship with another person. And I don't want to be held accountable for it, because then I'm going to have to deal with her emotions, her feelings, with the things that's going on there. So let me lie, cheat, manipulate, like steal, all these kind of things to be able to avoid that piece of accountability. And so, like, as a narcissist, it'd be like, okay, let me do whatever I have to do, even if I have to convince this person that what they saw, they didn't actually see. If what they heard, they didn't actually hear. If the text they saw wasn't actually that bad. The whole goal is, let me change your perspective. Let me change your reality so that you don't actually hold me accountable. Now, there were times where my wife would actually catch certain things. Then tactics had to change. Like, now it has to be more aggressive. It has to get more violent. It has to be like, why are you bringing this up? Like, can't you just leave this alone? I thought we were doing better. I thought this was working. I thought now we have a communication problem. Now we have, and blaming and shifting and projecting all these different things. For a lot of our marriage, my wife thought that there was a communication problem, because that's what counselors had told us in couples counseling. That's what I had told her. That's what I had blamed on her. All these different things of saying, like, oh, this is your fault. This is a problem. We need to go get counseling because of this. When in reality, none of that was true. Is there communication stuff we have to work on? Yeah, 100%. We're human. But the problems in our relationship were mainly because of me showing up as a liar, showing up as a cheater, showing up as someone who is gaslighting, manipulating, and trying to make sure that my version of reality was the only thing that everybody believed. Because I didn't want to acknowledge that I was doing something wrong. I didn't want to acknowledge that I was being hurtful in my behavior and my actions. I didn't want to acknowledge that what I was doing was wrong. So as a result, I told myself the lie that I'm a good person. I told myself a lie that, oh, I'm not that bad, to be able to continue having this facade of, it's not that bad, I'm a good person. Like, I had to convince myself of that. The thing is, narcissists will go to all extremes to make sure they avoid being held accountable. Like, there was times that my wife dealt with panic attacks that I caused. It wasn't like she was just sitting there and just had a panic attack. It was, she had a panic attack because of the yelling, because of the screaming, because of the words that I used, because of the things I said I was going to do, all these different like threats and manipulation that would cause this. And then those moments of panic attacks, like, that's where I would get even frustrated even more, because now she's acting that way. I would have a moment where I'd switch, and I'd switch from yelling and I'd switch to be like comforting. Of like, oh, I'm sorry, like let me hold you, let me be nice. I do, like, and it was weird. It was like watching like a play. Like, this is what I have to do, but I don't even know how to do that. So there were times that she would move away from me because she was scared, because she was worried about what was actually going to happen. Like, this fear that came out because of what I did, because of how I showed up. And this is what happens in narcissistic relationship, where the manipulation is so high and so keen on making sure that the other person complies with what they're doing. Making sure that the other person doesn't do whatever they don't want them to do, to be able to keep the facade, to be able to keep the idea of, this is what's going on, this is how I want to appear. And so you see this happen in your relationship, in toxic relationships, but this was characterized in mine. Of how I showed up, of I need to manipulate and control the conversation, the reality, to make sure that I am a good person, to make sure that she feels bad about her so that I feel better about myself. We were like, how could you do that? Easy. I didn't care. So for a lot of you that are struggling with, like, well, does my narcissist care about me? A quick answer is no, he doesn't. And you can tell that on a day-to-day basis by how he's treating you, by how he's acting, by how he's showing up, by what has been actually demonstrated in the relationships. So you need to understand, like, hey, these things need to be able to change, need to be able to develop in your life, because otherwise the person that says he cares but is not actually demonstrating it, believe the demonstration, not the words. Narcissists will go to any lengths to be able to manipulate, confuse you. Lying, cheating, stealing, emotionally and physically abusing, gaslighting, future faking. The list goes on and on and on. Of the reality of a narcissist will do anything to save their own skin in order to be able to avoid accountability, in order to be able to avoid responsibility, in order to be able to avoid feeling bad about something. You see, a narcissist looks and takes all this aspect of like, wait a second, you're exposing me. You're exposing something that I might feel bad about. So therefore, you're attacking me. Therefore, I can do whatever I want to be able to get back at you, to be able to, quote unquote, protect myself from you. Let me do whatever I have to do to be able to survive, to be able to move forward, to be able to be whatever I want to be. But at the end of the day, and that the reality is a narcissist is trying to do whatever they can just to save their own skin, to preserve themselves, to make sure that they're not held accountable, to make sure that they're not caught with what they're doing. If you're in a relationship today with a narcissist, I need you to understand that they will not stop. They will not slow down in their manipulation. They might change it up a little bit and be different types of manipulation, but it still happens, it still progresses, it still moves forward. It's still real. It's still raw. It's still stuff that actually hurts and destroys you. If you're ready to be free today and move forward in your healing, then I want you to go to claritychallenge.net to start moving forward the process of rewiring your mindset and ultimately to be free from toxicity.